Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another speed build. I'm shocked that we're already doing one this early, but I had a ton of fun building this very modern, luxurious house, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Hopefully there will of course be more in the future of this, and especially as I progress towards another generation of this challenge or just further along. I am very much so a builder type person when it comes to The Sims, so I get to kind of show my expertise a little bit when I get to do these, and it's kind of fun. For a little bit of backstory, this Sim, she is a part of my Not So Berry challenge. Her name is Sage. She's the Mint Sim. She's our very first in the series, and I wanted to go all out for her. She's a very materialistic Sim, and she's a little bit of an evil scientist, so we kind of had to go a little bit in that route. I wanted to do a modern build. That's like immediately what I knew I wanted to do when I was deciding on a house for her. I just felt like the modern vibe really fit her personality, and so I found a reference. If I can find it, I'll put it somewhere. So I definitely went that route. So we have a lot of big windows. We have a very modern color scheme. I wanted to stick to kind of the base colors and then add a little bit pop of color every now and then. So I went very white and darker kind of colors on the outside, and on the inside we get a little bit more colorful. This build was a lot of fun, especially the outside. I had a lot of fun making the shell of this house because I knew that I wanted to do a lot of platforms, and that's kind of why you'll notice in the front we have a lot of like overhanging roof. I don't know if you can consider the platforms roofs, but I'm going to consider them roofs. And we have them hanging over, and I really liked that. I feel like it kind of adds a little bit of extra depth to the build instead of it just being like one big old modern box, and I think it works really well for this. Another thing I wanted to add was a lot of makeshift planter boxes, because I feel like when you use a little half wall, I feel like it looks a little bit more modern than anything we really have. And so I kind of do that in the front. There's a little one in the back as well. The foliage I kept to a minimum. I didn't want to do a whole bunch of terrain here. I felt like it makes a little bit more sense to kind of keep in theme with the rest of San Myshuno, which is where this build is. This is actually on the lot. I believe the house that was here originally was called the Old Salt House or something like that. And in the description of that one, it is described as kind of a remodel of what used to be like a warehouse or something. I can't remember the full story, but you get what I mean. And so I really like the idea that she probably bought this property and built a new construction because she's an evil scientist. I don't think she'd care that much about old things. And she's materialistic. She wants nice luxury items. So that's what I wanted to make sure I put in this build. And I really like the fact that she has a really nice view. She is able to just go to the ocean if she wants to because it's right behind the house. There's also a lot of walking space here, and she gets to see all like the apartments and the penthouses and all of the sky-rise buildings, and I really like that. I didn't want to move her out of San Myshuno, so I'm happy that I built here instead of going to a different world, just because in my head it makes sense for her to stay in this world because this is where her job is in my head. That's not true because she's a scientist. It's okay. That's what I want to believe. And I took a while with picking fencing, which is why you'll kind of see me jump back and forth between this. I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep in fully open backyard or if I wanted to close it off. I do end up closing it off, so it will change. And I really like the fact that I decided to do that. I think it was a better decision than keeping it all fully open because it helps me add a little bit more interest in the front than just having the wooden fence. So I'm happy I decided to do what I did. And as you can see, I'm also adding a ton of windows. I really liked the placements I did for this. I feel like sometimes I can go a little overboard with windows because I personally really like natural light. So when I build, I always add like a whole bunch of windows, and sometimes that kicks me in the butt because then it's really hard to get a floor plan down. But it worked really well in this house, and I wanted to do it tastefully, and I feel like I accomplished that. So I'm very proud of myself for that. And of course, you're going to start to see all of the trim that's going down right now. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to leave these platforms without one, but then when I realized I kind of wanted to paint them, I decided to add a trim. Just because, as much as I liked the brutalistic almost like aesthetic that was going on, I wanted to lean very modern. So I chose to do that so that I can then paint it all white. So, but I think it works out really well. I think it is definitely very modern, you can tell. And I wanted to do some accents with adding brick and then some wood. So I went ahead and put some darker wood just on like one side of the house to kind of help accent the other colors that were going on. And I feel like it really, really worked. I also chose to go with a darker roof. I felt like it looked better with like the whole build and make it look a little bit more cohesive. So I'm pretty happy that I went that way. I also feel like I never get to use them, but I used a lot of like the square bushes that we have because to me they scream modern. So I put them everywhere in this build and I really like the way they look. I just feel like they add a little bit touch of greenery while not being too much. And then I added a couple of trees and I felt like that just kind of tied in the whole front part of the house. And I also wanted to add some custom like tile pieces on the ground to make it look a little bit more modern, and I really liked how that turned out also. I also had kind of a hard time picking the fireplace like opening. What is that called? Chimney. The chimney for the fireplace. I had a hard time picking it because I feel like we don't have too many modern ones, and then the ones that we do have, they kind of stick out a little bit. And I didn't really like that. So the one that I did end up picking, I quite like. I think it just took me a second to get used to it because I have a very specific vision in my head. And when it doesn't fit the vision, I'm like, I don't know about this one. But it worked out. I think it looks fine. And then we add some like finishing trim on the outside just to kind of help tie in the overhang that's happening. I felt like it was kind of distracting when you could see a little bit of the white peeking out from the dark wood, the second floor dark wood, and then like the first floor dark wood. I didn't like that it was kind of doing that. So I added the trim and I feel like it makes it a lot more cohesive and it makes me much happier that it looks like that. So, and then of course she does have a pool. So even though they're very close to the beach, I did make sure that there's like a little pool in this backyard. I didn't want it to be super huge, which is why I opted for a smaller pool. And I think it fits very nicely there on the balcony. I really like doing that with those patios where I just kind of extend it a lot and then pop a pool down. I just feel like it's very modern. And that might just be a me thing, but something about that just is like, that's luxury. You know what I mean? I just feel like it makes sense. And I also made sure to add those kind of custom made tile pieces all around the house so you kind of know where all the walking spaces are. I kind of build very chaotically sometimes, so you see me like go outside, I'll come inside, I'll go back outside, I'll come back inside, just the way my head works. I feel very like all over the place sometimes when I build, but it's my own chaotic genius. I feel like I know what I'm doing. Nobody else might know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing, and I like it that way. I also had like this little section in the front that I wasn't too sure about what to do with, so I just plopped a pond down, and I feel like it's quite nice. It's a little weird being there, but then I kind of add some stuff around it, and I feel like it kind of helps tie it together a little bit more, and I like it. I like the water fixture in the front instead of like putting just more of those kind of tile pieces. So it kind of helps break up the whole front yard. And now you could probably see me doing the planter boxes in the front. I had kind of a hard time doing this. I wanted it to be even, but the way I had planted the house and everything, it just wasn't gonna be even. And so I opted for like the three similar shaped. I opted for the planter boxes on like the outside to be longer, and then there's like one little small one. It might bug some people, but I got kind of accustomed to it, so it's okay. It's just like how it is. It is what it is. I couldn't fit it equally onto it, so I just left it because I was like, I'm not gonna fight this. I'm just gonna leave it be. And I feel like it looks nice. I feel like it looks nice. I also decided to not show the floor plan because even though it was kind of easy to make the floor plan, I feel like I still take forever to do them because I'll put everything one way, then I'm like, oh, what if I try it this way? And then it's just like back and forth, back and forth. And so I decided to kind of leave some of that out, especially once I kind of started doing the back and forth thing because I was like, no, it's gonna take me way too long to get this sorted, so I just skipped it. So sorry if you enjoy watching people make floor plans because I am just not one of those types of people that does very well with them. I do not think in floor plan. I think in outside, and then I go inside, and then I have a problem every single time I go to build. It's just every single time. Also, I am going to put a couple of furniture items down, just ignore them. I kind of like laying things out first so that I can kind of get an idea on if my floor plan will work or not. So that's why there's like cabinets and stuff that are not very pretty to look at. They will be gone. I promise. I will go back through and they will get changed to something much nicer. Another reason I really enjoyed the platforms on the outside was because I can put a lot more space. I feel like I have this problem every single time I start building something. I tend to have it happen where I'm like, oh my god, the outside looks so big. And then once I do my floor plan, it's just tiny on the inside. I don't know what it is. Every single time I do it, I always end up with this problem of like, I don't have enough space in the house. So my floor plans can be kind of funny sometimes, but I feel like it works. And because of that, I actually got to do this type of kitchen for the first time. I have never built a kitchen like this where it's kind of like popped out. It doesn't have its own section basically. And I really enjoyed it. I feel like it kind of makes it a very like realistic build. I feel like I've seen people with houses like this, is basically what I'm saying. I'm like, I feel like I've been in this kitchen before, and I really wanted to make sure that even though this was a very modern house, I did want to keep elements of like, this is also a home as well, which is why on the inside it's much more cozy than it is on the outside. I wanted to do some brighter colors, especially with her being the mint sim, so at some point you'll see me start putting items that are a little bit more minty or green and things like that, and I had a blast with doing that. I feel like the colors in this house just are so cozy to me, and I really liked it. I also never do carpet in houses. I personally don't like carpet, so whenever I build, I usually don't put carpet. But something about it just made sense here, and so in all of the bedrooms and stuff there is carpet, and I do really like the way it turned out in this build. And this is kind of what I mean how back and forth I am. Like, I'm doing the wallpaper right now and we're not even gonna stay here very long. I'm pretty sure I go somewhere different after this. I'm just all over the place when I build, and that's okay. I like my little chaotic genius that works for me. I got a little goblin inside my head that does things, and it does it things its own way, and that's okay. I also really enjoyed this kitchen. I had a blast making this kitchen. I think it was also just the fact that it was so different from anything I've done before, and it just made me feel so creative because I was like, oh my god, this is giving me so much inspiration to do a whole bunch of other stuff. I also mixed cabinets in this one because Sims team, we have got to get better at making cabinets that match, because it's so frustrating when you're building, and I really like those cabinets, and at first I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to use the counters because they're not the same, and I ended up making it work. I feel like they work together. I was like so frustrated because I wanted it to be a specific way, and I just feel like sometimes we don't have specific items. And that just kind of is what it is. So in this build, there are technically about 3 bedrooms, but there's also an office space. So if you were to use this and you needed 4 bedrooms, you could just get rid of the office, because it is honestly one of my favorite rooms in the house. I really like the windows. I think it's so nice to have like windows all around, and I just feel like it worked out so well. But if you needed an extra room, you could totally get rid of all of the stuff in there. And I had a blast making all of this. It was just so nice. I also don't always add fireplaces to my builds, so I was very pleased when I was able to fit the fireplace in such a nice area. And the living room just, it made sense to go here. So everything here totally worked out, and I love the living room. I think the office and the living room are my favorite. Well, honestly, I like the kitchen too. If I'm just gonna say it's my favorite for anything. We're gonna move somewhere else and I'm gonna be like, oh, this is my favorite room. No. I really like the rooms in this house for different reasons. I feel like the living room is like the perfect place to have people over. It's just so cozy to me. I liked these couches a lot. I like that they have the blankets on them. I really like the fireplace, the all white, the kind of cream colors. I also really wanted to add plants in here, so I made sure to do that. I used some of the really pretty curtains. I can't remember which kit they come from, but I used them and I really liked them in here. I just feel like it's such like a nice place. Like you could have people over and everybody would want to be here or like outside. And I like that so much. It did kind of make the dining small a little tiny, and I feel like that's kind of where that's kind of what I mean by like I feel like I make the spaces a little too small because there wasn't really a space to put the dining room. And I'm sure I could have done the floor plan a little differently to fit, but I knew I wanted a couple of bedrooms, and so I'm okay with it being a little squished as long as I got all of the stuff I wanted in here. And so I'm happy. I think it turned out good. And I just really like this living room. I just really like it. Honestly, like this would probably be a living room that I would be okay with having. I would just want it darker. That's it. I also wanted a very open floor plan, so you'll kind of notice like the minute you walk in from the front door, you can like navigate through the whole house without having to go through any doors or even archways because I didn't want that. I wanted it to be very like I can see the kitchen from when I walk in, and then like the little hallway leading into the living room I think is really cute, and it just feels so realistic to me. Like I'm thinking about my parents' house right now and the fact that like there's so many long hallways and it just makes so much sense. I also absolutely adore when there is like almost a balcony view when you get to the landing of the stairs. I love that in houses, and I think the chandelier just fits so perfectly there. It healed a little bit of my heart. I loved that so much. It was so pretty. And I'm happy I got to use it the way I wanted to because I really, really wanted that space to be open like that, and I'm happy I got what I wanted. So there are a couple of like skill building slash like amenities in this house that I wanted to bring up. First of all, there's a bar. I added like a little tiny bar off to the side if you were able to see it. I really like that. My sim is not much of like a drinker, but I think it was a nice touch for if she ever has people over, she entertains. And then the pool's another thing. I really liked that. The balconies on the outside where you can sit and stuff and things. You could sit, entertain people, whatever. There's also the office, so there's a computer up there. There is a chess table. There's also a ton of bookshelves in this house. And I got a bonsai tree in as well. I'm sure once I move my sim into here, things will be added. Like, at some point, I think we might have to get a rocket ship because she needs to get abducted. So, I know it sounds crazy, but she needs to get probed and she needs to get pregnant from an alien, okay? But at some point, we're gonna have to do that. So, you'll kind of notice I leave a lot of space open. First of all, I didn't want this house to be very expensive. I didn't even think I was going to be able to afford this. And thankfully, my sim has come into some money because she got a money tree. So I'm very excited about that. I wasn't planning on going as expensive as I did though, and that was the problem. I think I kind of noticed after I furnished like the entire downstairs, I was like, oh, this house is a lot. My bad. Because I wasn't paying attention to that at all. But it's okay. I ended up realizing, and so you'll kind of notice, I do leave some spots open. So if you do use this house, there are some areas that you can add your own twist to, and I think that's okay. I like the fact that I left a little bit open because she is gonna need a greenhouse, so I'll probably add that at some point, and then the rocket ship is its own thing. So I'll see what I end up doing there. And then of course when she has kids, we'll have to get like stuff for that backyard and all this stuff. So I'm okay with leaving it a little open and a little bit barren because we have room to kind of build on, and that is okay. The one thing that did bug me, and that I think I'm gonna have to end up changing, is in the office, I don't really like the table I use for the desk. I feel like I could have used one that was a little bit more modern, so I might end up changing that one. And I also don't like that the fireplace in that room is different from the one downstairs, so I might have to kind of rearrange stuff at some point to see if I can fit it a little bit better. I just feel like it doesn't really fit. But, you know, it's still a really cute room. I think it works together. It wasn't what I wanted. And that's the problem, is that I'm a control freak and I want it to work the way I want it to work. I also really like the art pieces that I put around this house. You'll kind of notice I did go for some very eccentric wallpaper, especially in the living room and then some of the foyer places. So I kind of had a hard time putting art pieces up after that, but I feel like I should let the wallpaper speak for itself. So I'm okay with the fact that I didn't put a whole bunch of art all over it. I just feel like it would clash. It's a very busy wallpaper, so if you start adding a whole bunch of stuff on it, it's just not gonna work. Which is why I'm happy I decided to go with hanging plants for the downstairs, because I feel like it works very well, especially because the wallpaper is literally plant related, so there's like flowers and leaves on them. So I just feel like the hanging plants were a good choice instead of putting like a big art piece down there. But you'll probably notice I tried so much to put an art piece there, and I did not feel like doing it. And that's kind of the reason I left the staircase alone, because I didn't want to put art piece there. I do like though that I put art pieces and stuff on the other side. I just didn't feel like this needed to be very busy. I feel like modern houses tend to be a little bit more bare. You don't have as many like cool wallpapers and things like that in most of them. So I wanted to put a little bit of a spin there while still keeping it very modern. Like obviously we're not doing any like crazy colors and stuff. And even the one wallpaper, it may be busy, but I feel like it still works very well for like a modern theme. So I enjoyed that a lot. So once we move upstairs, you'll kind of notice I keep one of the rooms like pretty much barren. I don't put anything in it, and that's because I kind of plan on that being the heir's room. So whenever she does have her next generation come to life or be born, that is where I plan on putting the crib and stuff and where I raise that kid. She technically is supposed to have two children. She's supposed to have an alien baby, and then she's also supposed to have the next generation. So I wanted to make the downstairs room kind of more of a guest space. I do keep that kind of barren as well. There's not a lot in there. I don't remember putting anything in it. So maybe I'll have to go through and do it again. I didn't want to put really anything in it just because I know that those are going to be like future rooms that I use that aren't going to be related to that at all. So I just kept them very barren and with nothing. However, the master bedroom, I went all out because this is her room, so I wanted it to be very mint, I want it to be modern, and I wanted it to be very cozy. So I used a bed that I have never used before, and I've never used it in this swatch either. So it's the first time I've used it, and to be honest, I'm still getting kind of used to it because I don't know exactly how much I like it here, but I think it works. And I feel like it looks very cozy. It's a nicer bed, so. I also really love the side tables. I can't remember what pack they come with, but the side tables in the dresser, I think those are literally my favorite in the game. I love the dresser that comes with these, and then also the side tables. I think they're so pretty, and I really like that pack. I also wanted there to be many plants in this room, which is why you're going to start seeing me pull out plants. A lot of the tall ones I wanted to put outside, but I do end up putting like about 3 or 4 in her room because she is supposed to be a gardener. She's not necessarily a plant sim, but I think that she would have a couple of plants in her room to take care of. So I put some in here for her to take care of. She can't actually do anything with them, but I like the aesthetic, so I put them there. There's also a bookcase in this room, and I also kept the nightstands very simple. I didn't want to clutter very much, so there's just like a couple of candles around, the really cute little like lantern table lights, and just a little piece of art. You'll probably notice this also that one of the windows keeps glitching out. I don't know why that one keeps having issues. It's because I used move objects, and so now it's like being kind of funny. But every now and then, it'll just glitch into the wall and it looks weird. So just ignore it. I'll fix it every time it happens. I kind of ignore it after a bit. And I also really enjoyed next to her door when you come into her room because I liked the idea of her being able to put her like jackets and stuff on that. And I kind of kept that also very bare and didn't put too much on it. To be honest, I don't feel like I cluttered this house as I usually would because I really like when a space feels lived in, but I wanted to keep in with the modern theme, which to me screams very like clean, very organized. There's not a lot of stuff on the counters. So I wanted to kind of keep that in mind when building, and I feel like I really like the way it turned out. With it still feels homey, it's just not super cluttered and like things like that, and I think that's fine. I also said this in the last build, but bathrooms, I always make them about the same. One may be a bit bigger and will get like a little bit more clutter, but they get the same wall, they get the same floor, and they get the same amenities. So I make it just easier on myself for doing that. I also really like doing this thing in my builds where I put hanging plants and stuff near the tub whenever I actually do use one. I just think it looks really nice, especially when you have the really big windows in here. So it's like it's ideal plant space because there's like sun coming in and you're in the bathroom already. So if you water them or anything, you just put them in the shower and water them. So they're like right there. I just think it makes sense. It's just nice. It's one of the best ways to clutter as well. I feel like if you put a plant because you can't put anything else, it'll look good regardless. Like I think so. I also had a huge problem finding curtains for the bathrooms. I feel like we have really bad bathroom curtains. I just feel like they don't fit, and like here specifically in the master bathroom, I had a 3 window kind of arrangement, and so none of the bathroom curtains were fitting on it. I do end up putting kind of the Sulani ones in there, and I like them. I just feel like they're not the exact theme I was going for, but it is what it is. The color matches, and they're still really pretty in there, so I think it was okay. And then I also add even more seating space out here, so you'll kind of notice me come outside now. I'm gonna start putting kind of chairs and seats and stuff now on the balconies, but I really like this little spot here with the little umbrella and the table. I think it's just so cute. And I also wanted to add a door that leads into that guest bedroom. So I guess when I do end up having children, that is going to be a room I have to make sure kids aren't getting out of because that door is probably going to be a problem. I also really like the fact that it fits there so perfectly. I was so happy when I was like, I kind of want to put a door there, and then that just fit so well. I was so happy about it. And I really like all of the seating spaces that are here. I think they just fit really, really well outside. It's just so cozy to me. Like, I would want to go out here, read a book in the morning, maybe drink some coffee, or if I'm entertaining people, you come out here and you either order food or grill. I'm not much of a griller, but you could order food, and I really like it. I also added, probably one of my favorite things on the outside is this fountain that goes into the pool. I think it works so well, and I think it's super, super cute. The rocks look a little funny because they're not the exact same color, but I think it works so well. Just don't look at the back. I feel like the back of it is a little funny and like goofy to look at, but it works. And I enjoy this so much. I think it's so pretty. I just wanted something else there. I was like, there's gotta be something I can add that could add a little bit more interest. And then I found this and I was like, that's perfect. Literally perfect. And then you'll kind of see me rearranging all of the plants. I really like the idea of there being like the big potted plants on the outside. I never get to use them because they're very weird to put on the inside of a house because they're so big. So I never use them. And then I was like, oh my god, I feel like they'd be perfect out on the balcony. I don't know, I think they work really, really well. I also wanted to make sure I put a garden here. So there is a lot of like gardening planter boxes and stuff as well. And eventually I'm gonna put a greenhouse down because I think that would be better than just having the plants out all the time. I might actually just fully remove that little garden and do it a different way. I just like the way it looks on the house. I think it's kind of cute. There's like a little side to it just for planting. I just think it was really, really nice. There's also like a whole bunch of other space in this backyard, so if you wanted to add more things, you could totally do it. And don't even get me started on the fencing problem. This was bugging me so bad. I sat here for forever trying to fix this, and it just wasn't fixing itself, so I just put bushes in the way because I really wanted to make this one more space bigger, and I was just not able to fit them. But it's okay. I put some bushes. I feel like it gets a little bit more greenery out here, and I was able to fit the planter boxes that I wanted to. So that made me very happy. I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just suck it up. All right, so as we're coming up to the end of this video, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit because I haven't really caught up with anybody. I don't talk too much on this channel. If you want to hear me yap, you can go to my vlogging channel because I do talk there. But I just got this ring light. I have a ring light. I don't know if you could tell if the brightness is different, but I have a ring light now, so I think it looks really nice. I moved my camera as well. I feel like I always have it like on the side here, and so this is a little bit of a different view, and I like this a lot more. I think it makes sense here instead of on the side. But I also have a ring light, so it's so pretty. I got nice lighting now. Oh my god, it makes me so happy. But yeah, in other news, we also had to take Diesel to the vet like a couple weeks ago. I think it was like only like 2 weeks ago or so. Diesel's my cat. I don't know if you've seen him. I can't remember if I put him in a video or not. But he'd been having some issues with his poop and stuff, so we just wanted to go and get it checked out. He thankfully is healthy and everything looks good. He just has a sensitive tummy, so we are not feeding him the thing that we were trying to feed him before. We just are keeping him on dry food and it's working a lot better. So, random stuff I chose to tell you about. But I hope that you enjoyed this speed build and I hope to see you next time.